As-salamu alaykum, dear brothers and sisters. Today we will investigate the most important thing that is discussed in the Quran. Keep watching, because at the end of this video, you will know everything about this subject. Let's begin. Tawheed, derived from the Arabic root word wahada, means to make one or to unify. In the context of Islamic theology, it refers to the fundamental concept of monotheism, emphasizing the oneness and uniqueness of Allah, God. Tawheed is the cornerstone of Islamic belief and practice, representing the central theme around which all other teachings of Islam revolve. This principle is so pivotal that it shapes the entire worldview of a Muslim, influencing every aspect of their faith and daily life. The importance of Tawheed in Islam cannot be overstated. It is the first part of the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith, which states, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. This declaration is a testament to the belief in the oneness of God and the acceptance of Muhammad as his final prophet. Without the acceptance of Tawheed, a person cannot be considered a Muslim. It is the foundation upon which the entire structure of Islamic belief is built, making it the most crucial element of the religion. The concept of Tawheed was revolutionary in the context of 7th century Arabia, where polytheism was rampant, and the people worshipped a plethora of deities. The Arabs of that time believed in a multitude of gods, each with specific roles and powers. The Kaaba in Mecca, now the holiest site in Islam, housed numerous idols representing these various gods. The message of Tawheed brought by Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, challenged these deeply ingrained polytheistic practices, calling for the worship of one, all-powerful and unseen God. This message of monotheism was not only a religious doctrine, but also a social and cultural revolution, as it sought to dismantle the existing power structures based on tribal affiliations and polytheistic worship. Prophet Muhammad's PBUH mission was primarily to restore the original monotheistic faith of previous prophets, including Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, all of whom preached the oneness of God. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, repeatedly emphasizes that the core message of all prophets was the same: the worship of one God. For instance, in Surah Al-Anbiya 21:25, Allah states, "And we did not send any messenger before you, O Muhammad, but we revealed to him, saying, None has the right to be worshipped but I, Allah. So worship me, alone, and none else." The emphasis on Tawheed in the Quran is pervasive, with numerous verses underscoring the oneness of God and the need for exclusive devotion to Him. One of the most succinct and powerful expressions of Tawheed is found in Surah Al-Ikhlas 112:1-4. Say, He is Allah, who is one, Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to Him any equivalent. This surah, often recited by Muslims in their daily prayers, encapsulates the essence of monotheism in a few brief but profound lines. In addition to its theological significance, Tawheed has profound ethical and moral implications. Belief in the oneness of God fosters a sense of accountability in individuals, as they are aware that they are answerable to a single, all-knowing deity. This awareness encourages adherence to moral and ethical principles as outlined in the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. Tawheed also promotes a sense of equality among humans, as all are equally servants of the one God, without any inherent superiority based on race, ethnicity, or social status. The revolutionary message of Tawheed also had significant social and political implications in the Arabian Peninsula. By advocating for the worship of one God, Islam sought to unify the disparate and often warring tribes of Arabia under a common belief system. The The notion of a single, supreme deity transcended tribal affiliations, fostering a sense of brotherhood and unity among the early Muslim community. This unifying force was instrumental in the rapid spread of Islam across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond, as it provided a cohesive and inclusive framework for diverse groups of people. The introduction of Tawheed by Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, was met with fierce resistance from the Quraysh, the dominant tribe in Mecca, who saw the new faith as a direct threat to their economic and social power. The Quraysh derived significant revenue from the pilgrimage to the Kaaba, which was a center of polytheistic worship. The call to abandon idol worship in favor of monotheism threatened to disrupt their lucrative trade and diminish their influence. Despite the initial opposition, the message of Tawheed gradually gained traction, attracting followers from various segments of society, including the poor and marginalized, who found solace in the egalitarian and just principles of Islam. The concept of Tawheed is deeply ingrained in the Quran, forming the essence of its message and permeating its verses. The Quran emphasizes the oneness of Allah in numerous ways, providing a comprehensive understanding of His nature, attributes, and the implications of His singularity. The Quranic discourse on Tawheed can be seen as a multifaceted exposition that aims to instill a profound sense of monotheism in the hearts and minds of its readers. One of the key ways the Quran emphasizes Tawheed is through explicit declarations of Allah's oneness. For instance, Surah Al-Ikhlas, a short but powerful chapter, succinctly captures the essence of Tawheed. Say He is Allah, who is one. Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to Him any equivalent. 112:1-4. This surah is often regarded as the touchstone of Islamic monotheism, clearly articulating the unique and unparalleled nature of Allah. It negates any notion of Allah having partners, offspring, or equals, thereby reinforcing the idea of His absolute oneness. The Quran also highlights Tawheed through its detailed descriptions of Allah's attributes, which underscore His uniqueness and supreme power. These attributes, often referred to as the Asma'ul Husna, the most beautiful names, include qualities such as Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, Al-Malik, the sovereign, Al-Qudus, the most holy, and Al-Aziz, the Almighty. By understanding these attributes, Muslims gain a deeper appreciation of Allah's incomparable nature and His overarching presence in every aspect of existence. For example, Surah Al-Hashr 59-22-24 lists several of these attributes. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, knower of the unseen and the witnessed. He is the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, the sovereign, the pure, the perfection, the bestower of faith, the overseer, the exalted in might, the compeller, the superior. Exalted is Allah above whatever they associate with Him. In addition to these declarations and attributes, the Quran employs various narratives and parables to illustrate the concept of Tawheed. The stories of the prophets serve as powerful reminders of the importance of monotheism. Each prophet, from Adam to Muhammad, was sent with the primary mission of calling their people to the worship of the one true God. The story of Prophet Abraham, is particularly significant in this regard. Ibrahim's unwavering commitment to Tawheed is exemplified in his rejection of idol worship and his willingness to stand alone in his faith. In Surah Al-An'am 6:74-79, the Quran recounts how Ibrahim challenged his people's idolatry and proclaimed the oneness of Allah. And mention, O Muhammad, when Abraham said to his father Azar, "Do you take idols as deities? Indeed, I see you and your people to be in manifest error. And thus did we show Abraham the realm of the heavens and the earth, that he would be among the certain in faith." So when the night covered him with darkness, he saw a star. He said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "I do not like those that disappear." And when he saw the moon rising, he said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "Unless my Lord guides me, I will surely be among the people gone astray." And when he saw the sun rising, he said, "This is my Lord, this is greater." But when it set, he said, "O my people, indeed I am free from what you associate with Allah. Indeed, I have turned my face toward He who created the heavens and the earth, inclining toward truth, and I am not of those who associate others with Allah." The Quran also addresses the human inclination to associate partners with Allah, shirk, and sternly warns against it. Shirk is considered the gravest sin in Islam, as it directly contradicts the principle of Tawheed. The Quran frequently reminds believers of the consequences of shirk and calls for its complete rejection. In Surah Luqman 31:13, Luqman advises his son, "O my son, do not associate anything with Allah. Indeed, association with Him is great injustice." This verse not only underscores the severity of shirk, but also highlights the inherent justice in the worship of Allah alone. Furthermore, the Quran provides rational arguments and evidence to support the belief in Tawheed. It invites people to reflect on the natural world and the signs of Allah's creation as proofs of His oneness and sovereignty. Surah Al-Baqarah 2.164 states, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, and the great ships which sail through the sea with that which benefits people, and what Allah has sent down from the heavens of rain, giving life thereby to the earth after its lifelessness, and dispersing therein every kind of moving creature, and His directing of the winds and the clouds, controlled between the heaven and the earth, are signs for a people who use reason." By contemplating these signs, believers are encouraged to recognize the existence and oneness of Allah, leading to a deeper understanding and conviction in Tawheed. The concept of Tawheed also has practical implications for a Muslim's life, as it influences their worship, morality, and interactions with others. In terms of worship, Tawheed necessitates that all acts of devotion and worship be directed solely towards Allah. This includes the 5 pillars of Islam: the Shahada, declaration of faith; Salah, prayer; Zakat, almsgiving; Psalm, fasting during Ramadan; and Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca. Each of these pillars is a manifestation of Tawheed, reinforcing the believer's commitment to the oneness of Allah. On a moral and ethical level, Tawheed instills a sense of accountability and righteousness. Believers understand that Allah is aware of their actions and that they will be held accountable for their deeds on the Day of Judgment. This awareness encourages adherence to moral principles, honesty, justice, and compassion. Surah Al-Imran 3:102 urges believers to live in accordance with Tawheed. "O you who have believed, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except as Muslims, in submission to Him." The Quran also addresses the social and communal aspects of Tawheed, promoting unity and brotherhood among Muslims. The belief in one God transcends racial, ethnic, and social boundaries, fostering a sense of equality and solidarity. Surah Al-Hujurat 49:10 emphasizes this. "The believers are but one brotherhood, so make peace between your brothers and fear Allah that you may receive mercy." This verse highlights the importance of maintaining harmonious relationships and working together for the common good, guided by the principle of Tawheed. Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, manifests in several dimensions in Islamic theology, encompassing beliefs, worship, and understanding of divine attributes. The These manifestations are categorized into three main aspects: Tawheed in worship, Tawheed al-Uluhiyya, Tawheed in lordship, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, and Tawheed in names and attributes, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. Each aspect provides a comprehensive understanding of Allah's singularity and how it should be reflected in a believer's life. Tawheed in worship, Tawheed al-Uluhiyya, is the belief that Allah alone deserves worship. This form of Tawheed emphasizes that all acts of devotion, whether prayer, supplication, or sacrifice, should be directed exclusively to Allah. It rejects any form of idolatry or association of partners with Allah, a concept known as shirk. The Quran explicitly states this in Surah Al-Fatiha 1:5, where believers declare, "You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help." This verse encapsulates the essence of Tawheed al-Uluhiyya, affirming that all forms of worship must be dedicated solely to Allah. The practical application of Tawheed in worship is evident in the 5 pillars of Islam. The Shahada, or declaration of faith, is the first and most fundamental pillar, proclaiming the oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad. This declaration is a verbal affirmation of Tawheed al-Uluhiyya, setting the foundation for a Muslim's belief and practice. The daily prayers, Salah, further reinforce this concept, as Muslims engage in acts of worship that are exclusively directed to Allah, acknowledging His supremacy and seeking His guidance. Fasting during Ramadan, Psalm, giving alms, zakat, and undertaking the pilgrimage to Mecca, Hajj, are also manifestations of Tawheed al-Uluhiyya. These acts of worship are performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure and demonstrating devotion to Him alone. They serve as reminders of the believer's submission to Allah's will and the rejection of any form of idolatry or polytheism. Tawheed in lordship, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, focuses on the belief that Allah is the sole creator, sustainer, and ruler of the universe. It emphasizes that everything in existence is subject to Allah's will and control. This aspect of Tawheed is foundational to understanding the nature of Allah's dominion over the cosmos. Surah Al-Furqan 25:2 states, "He to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and who has not taken a son and has not had a partner in dominion, and has created each thing and determined it with precise determination." This recognition of Allah's lordship instills a sense of trust and reliance on Him. Believers understand that all aspects of their lives, from their sustenance to their well-being, are under Allah's control. This understanding fosters a sense of gratitude and humility, as they acknowledge their dependence on Allah for all their needs. It also reinforces the idea that no other entity, whether human or divine, shares in Allah's power and authority. The Quran frequently highlights Allah's role as the creator and sustainer of the universe. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:21-22 calls upon humanity to worship Allah, who created them and those before them, and who made the earth a resting place and the sky a canopy, sending down water from the sky to bring forth fruits for their sustenance. These verses underscore Allah's provision and care for His creation, reinforcing the concept of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Tawheed in names and attributes, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, involves affirming the names and attributes of Allah as described in the Quran and Sunnah. It emphasizes that Allah's names and attributes are unique to Him and cannot be compared to those of His creation. This aspect of Tawheed ensures that believers maintain a correct understanding of Allah's nature, avoiding any anthropomorphic interpretations or negations of His attributes. The Quran contains numerous verses that describe Allah's attributes, such as His mercy, knowledge, power, and justice. For example, Surah Al-Hashr 59-22-24 lists several of Allah's attributes, highlighting His omniscience, omnipotence, and majesty. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, knower of the unseen and the witnessed. He is the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, the sovereign, the pure, the perfection, the bestower of faith, the overseer, the exalted in might, the compeller, the superior. Exalted is Allah above whatever they associate with Him. Understanding and affirming these attributes enhances a believer's relationship with Allah, deepening their reverence and love for Him. It also provides a framework for understanding how Allah interacts with His creation, guiding believers in their worship and supplications. By recognizing Allah's attributes, Muslims can better appreciate His infinite wisdom, mercy, and justice, and strive to embody these qualities in their own lives. Prophets play a crucial role in teaching and exemplifying Tawheed. They serve as conduits through which Allah's message of monotheism is conveyed to humanity. Each prophet, from Adam to Muhammad, was tasked with calling their people to the worship of one true God, reinforcing the principle of Tawheed throughout history. The stories of the prophets in the Quran highlight their unwavering commitment to monotheism and their efforts to guide their communities away from idolatry and polytheism. Prophet Abraham, is often referred to as the patriarch of monotheism, and his story is a powerful testament to his dedication to Tawheed. The Quran recounts how Ibrahim challenged his father's idol worship and sought to convey the message of Allah's oneness to His people. In Surah Al-An'am 674-79, Ibrahim's quest for understanding the true nature of the divine is described, culminating in his realization and declaration of Allah's singularity. This narrative underscores the importance of seeking truth and rejecting false deities, serving as an enduring example for believers. Prophet Moses, also played a significant role in reinforcing the message of Tawheed. The Quran details his mission to liberate the children of Israel from the tyranny of Pharaoh, who claimed divinity for himself. Musa's confrontation with Pharaoh is a powerful demonstration of the struggle between monotheism and polytheism. In Surah Taha 20:49, Musa boldly proclaims to Pharaoh, "Our Lord is He who gave each thing its form and then guided it." This assertion of Allah's lordship and creative power is a direct challenge to Pharaoh's false claims of divinity, emphasizing the core message of Tawheed. Prophet Muhammad, the final messenger, was entrusted with the task of delivering the ultimate and complete message of Tawheed. His prophethood marks the culmination of the monotheistic teachings of all previous prophets. The Quran reveals Muhammad's mission to restore the original faith of monotheism and guide humanity towards the worship of Allah alone. Throughout his life, Muhammad tirelessly preached the oneness of Allah, striving to eradicate the idolatrous practices that had become prevalent in Arabian society. The Quranic revelation to Muhammad began with the declaration of Tawheed. The first revelation in Surah Al-Alaq 96:15 calls upon humanity to recognize Allah as the Creator. Recite in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Recite, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. This initial message sets the foundation for the entire prophetic mission, emphasizing the importance of acknowledging Allah's role as the creator and sustainer of all existence. The role of prophets in teaching Tawheed extends beyond verbal proclamation. Their lives serve as exemplars of monotheistic faith and practice. The Quran frequently highlights the trials and tribulations faced by the prophets in their efforts to uphold and propagate the message of Tawheed. These narratives serve to inspire and motivate believers to remain steadfast in their faith, despite the challenges they may encounter. In addition to their role in teaching Tawheed, prophets are also seen as intercessors and guides for their communities. They provide spiritual and moral guidance, helping believers navigate the complexities of life while remaining true to the principles of monotheism. The Quran emphasizes the importance of following the example of the prophets, particularly Muhammad, as a means of achieving closeness to Allah and attaining spiritual success. Surah Al-Ahzab 33:21 states, "There has certainly been for you in the Messenger of Allah an excellent pattern for anyone whose hope is in Allah and the Last Day, and who remembers Allah often." The belief in Tawheed has profound implications for a Muslim's conduct, both on a personal and social level. Understanding and internalizing the oneness of Allah instills a sense of accountability and purpose in individuals, guiding their ethical and moral decisions. This belief in the unity and sovereignty of Allah fosters a sense of responsibility towards oneself, others, and the environment, aligning with the principles of justice, equality, and compassion that are central to Islamic teachings. At the personal level, Tawheed influences a Muslim's ethical and moral behavior. The awareness that Allah is ever present, all-knowing, and all-seeing encourages individuals to act with integrity and honesty in all aspects of life. This consciousness of Allah's omnipresence is known as taqwa, often translated as God consciousness or piety. Taqwa motivates believers to adhere to the moral and ethical guidelines set forth in the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. It encompasses a wide range of virtues, including honesty, patience, humility, and sincerity. Surah Al-Baqarah 2.177 encapsulates the essence of ethical conduct derived from taqwa. Righteousness is not that you turn your faces toward the east or the west, but true righteousness is in one who believes in Allah, the Last Day, the angels, the Book, and the prophets, and gives his wealth, in spite of love for it, to relatives, orphans, the needy, the traveler, those who ask for help, and for freeing slaves, and who establishes prayer and gives zakah, those who fulfill their promise when they promise, and those who are patient in poverty and hardship and during battle. Those are the ones who have been true, and it is those who are the righteous. In addition to guiding personal conduct, the belief in Tawheed has significant implications for social justice and communal responsibility. The Quran and Hadith emphasize the importance of justice, equality, and compassion in social interactions. Tawheed teaches that all human beings are equal in the sight of Allah, as they are all His creations. This principle of equality is a fundamental aspect of Islamic social ethics, advocating for the fair and equitable treatment of all individuals, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or social status. The Quranic injunctions on justice are clear and unequivocal. Surah An-Nisa 4:135 commands, "O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. So follow not personal inclination, lest you not be just. And if you distort your testimony or refuse to give it, then indeed Allah is ever, with what you do, acquainted." This verse underscores the importance of upholding justice impartially, regardless of personal interests or relationships. It reflects the broader Islamic principle that justice is a divine mandate, integral to the proper functioning of society. Tawheed also promotes social solidarity and mutual assistance within the Muslim community and beyond. The concept of ummah, or the global Muslim community, is rooted in the belief in the oneness of Allah and the shared faith of its members. This sense of brotherhood and solidarity is reinforced through various acts of worship and social obligations, such as zakat, almsgiving, and sadaqah, voluntary charity. These practices are designed to redistribute wealth and provide support to the less fortunate, reducing economic disparities and fostering social cohesion. Furthermore, Tawheed has ecological implications, as it teaches that the natural world is a sign of Allah's creativity and majesty. Muslims are encouraged to view the environment as a trust, amana, from Allah, for which they are responsible stewards. This stewardship entails caring for and preserving the environment, ensuring that natural resources are used sustainably and equitably. Surah Al-An'am 6:141 advises, "And do not waste resources, for indeed, He does not like the wasteful." This injunction against wastefulness reflects the broader Islamic ethic of moderation and responsible consumption, rooted in the belief in the oneness of Allah and the interconnectedness of His creation. The belief in Tawheed also fosters a sense of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. Muslims are taught to trust in Allah's wisdom and mercy, understanding that all events, whether positive or negative, occur by His decree. This trust, known as tawakkul, encourages believers to remain steadfast and patient during difficult times, seeking solace in the knowledge that Allah is in control and that there is a divine purpose behind every occurrence. Surah At-Tawbah 9:51 states, "Say, never will we be struck except by what Allah has decreed for us. He is our protector, and upon Allah let the believers rely." Despite the centrality of Tawheed in Islamic belief, various challenges can undermine this fundamental concept. One of the most serious challenges is the phenomenon of shirk, or associating partners with Allah. Shirk is considered the gravest sin in Islam, as it directly contradicts the principle of Tawheed. The Quran sternly warns against shirk and its consequences, emphasizing that it is an unforgivable sin if one dies without repenting. Surah An-Nisa 4:48 declares, "Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with Him, but He forgives what is less than that for whom He wills. And he who associates others with Allah has certainly fabricated a tremendous sin." Shirk can manifest in various forms, ranging from overt idolatry to more subtle forms of associating partners with Allah. Overt shirk includes the worship of idols, other deities, or natural phenomena, which was prevalent in pre-Islamic Arabian society and is still found in various forms across different cultures and religions. The Quran consistently addresses these practices, calling for their rejection and the exclusive worship of Allah. Surah Al-An'am 6:19 asserts, "Say, what thing is greatest in testimony? Say, Allah is witness between me and you. And this Quran was revealed to me that I may warn you thereby and whomever it reaches. Do you truly testify that with Allah there are other deities? Say, I will not testify with you. Say, indeed, He is but one God, and indeed, I am free of what you associate with Him." More subtle forms of shirk include the reliance on superstitions, charms, or amulets, believing that they have intrinsic power, independent of Allah. Such practices can dilute a person's reliance on Allah alone and can be seen as attributing divine power to objects or beings other than Allah. The Hadith literature also addresses this issue, with Prophet Muhammad warning against practices that could lead to shirk, urging believers to place their trust solely in Allah. Contemporary challenges to Tawheed include the influences of secularism and materialism, which can divert individuals from a God-centered worldview. The increasing secularization of societies, particularly in the modern era, can lead to the marginalization of religious beliefs and practices. Materialism, on the other hand, encourages the pursuit of worldly possessions and pleasures, often at the expense of spiritual and moral values. These challenges necessitate a renewed emphasis on the principles of Tawheed and the cultivation of a strong sense of faith and spirituality. In response to these challenges, Islamic scholars and educators emphasize the importance of religious education and spiritual development. Teaching the principles of Tawheed from an early age helps to instill a firm belief in the oneness of Allah and a strong sense of moral and ethical conduct. Additionally, engaging in regular acts of worship, such as prayer, fasting, and charity, reinforces the connection with Allah and helps to maintain a focus on spiritual rather than material pursuits. Furthermore, contemporary Muslim communities are encouraged to engage with the broader society in ways that reflect the principles of Tawheed. This includes promoting social justice, environmental stewardship, and ethical behavior in all aspects of life. By living out the values of Tawheed, Muslims can provide a positive example and contribute to the betterment of society, demonstrating the relevance and applicability of Islamic teachings in the modern world. Tawheed, or the oneness of Allah, is not only a central tenet of Islamic theology, but also a foundational concept in Islamic philosophy and theology, known as Aqidah. Islamic scholars and theologians have delved deeply into the understanding and implications of Tawheed, exploring its various dimensions and addressing the theological debates that arise around it. This chapter will explore the theological and philosophical underpinnings of Tawheed and its interpretation across different Islamic schools of thought. In Islamic theology, Tawheed is the cornerstone of Aqidah, which encompasses all beliefs and doctrines of Islam. The theological discourse on Tawheed primarily revolves around its three main aspects: Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, oneness of lordship; Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, oneness of worship; and Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, oneness of names and attributes. Scholars have provided detailed expositions on each aspect to ensure a comprehensive understanding of Allah's oneness and to guard against any form of deviation or innovation, bid'ah, that might compromise the purity of monotheism. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah asserts that Allah is the sole creator, sustainer, and ruler of the universe. This aspect emphasizes Allah's absolute sovereignty and control over all creation. Islamic theologians argue that recognizing Allah's lordship leads to a deeper appreciation of His omnipotence and wisdom. This belief counters any notion of multiple creators or deities with competing powers, a common theme in pre-Islamic Arabian paganism and other polytheistic traditions. Islamic texts and scholars emphasize that everything in existence, from the vast galaxies to the minutest particles, operates under Allah's command. This understanding is supported by numerous Quranic verses, such as Surah Al-An'am 6:102. That is Allah, your Lord. There is no deity except Him, the creator of all things, so worship Him. And He is disposer of all things. Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah focuses on the exclusivity of worship to Allah. It asserts that no being or entity besides Allah is worthy of worship, and all acts of devotion must be directed solely to Him. This aspect is crucial in Islamic theology as it directly addresses and refutes shirk, associating partners with Allah, which is considered the gravest sin. Theological discussions on Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah highlight the importance of sincerity in worship, ikhlas, and the rejection of any form of idolatry or intermediary in the relationship between the believer and Allah. Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Quran, encapsulates this principle beautifully. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help. 125. Tawhid al-Asma wa Sifat pertains to the belief in the uniqueness and perfection of Allah's names and attributes. Islamic theologians have meticulously detailed this aspect to prevent any anthropomorphic interpretations or negations, ta'til, of Allah's attributes. Theological discussions emphasize that Allah's attributes, such as His knowledge, power, mercy, and justice, are unique and incomparable to those of His creation. For instance, while humans may possess knowledge, Allah's knowledge is all-encompassing and perfect, transcending any human limitation. Surah Ash-Shura 42:11 states, "There is nothing like unto Him, and He is the hearing, the seeing," highlighting the uniqueness and incomparability of Allah's attributes. Different Islamic schools of thought, such as Ash'ari, Maturidi, and Athari, Salafi, have developed their theological frameworks around these aspects of Tawheed, sometimes leading to nuanced differences in interpretation. The Ash'ari school, for instance, emphasizes the use of rationality and logic in understanding the attributes of Allah, advocating a balance between reason and revelation. The Maturidi school shares similar views but places a stronger emphasis on human free will within the framework of Allah's omniscience and omnipotence. The Athari or Salafi school, on the other hand, emphasizes a literal and text-based approach to understanding Allah's names and attributes, advocating for a return to the beliefs and practices of the early Muslim community. Salaf. Philosophically, the concept of Tawheed has been explored through various intellectual traditions within Islam, such as Kalam, Islamic theology, Sufism, Islamic mysticism, and Islamic philosophy. Kalam, particularly in the works of scholars like Al-Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah, addresses the rational foundations of Tawheed, defending it against philosophical skepticism and theological deviations. Sufi traditions, on the other hand, focus on the experiential and spiritual dimensions of Tawheed, emphasizing the inner realization and direct experience of Allah's oneness. Sufi practices, such as dhikr, remembrance of Allah, and spiritual retreats, are aimed at purifying the heart and achieving a state of unity with the divine. Islamic philosophy, influenced by thinkers such as Al-Farabi, Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Averroes, Ibn Rushd, engages with Tawhid through the lens of metaphysics and ethics. These philosophers integrate Greek philosophical concepts with Islamic theology to provide a comprehensive understanding of Tawheed and its implications for human existence and morality. For instance, Avicenna's concept of the necessary existent aligns with the Islamic understanding of Allah as the self-sufficient and eternal source of all being, highlighting the philosophical depth of Tawheed. In contemporary times, the discussion of Tawheed continues to evolve, addressing new challenges and contexts. Modern Islamic scholars and intellectuals engage with the concept of Tawheed in the context of globalization, secularism, and scientific advancements, exploring how this foundational belief can guide and inform Muslim identity and practice in a rapidly changing world. They emphasize that the principles of Tawheed remain relevant and essential for fostering a holistic understanding of faith, ethics, and social justice. The comprehensive discussion of Tawheed in theology and philosophy underscores its centrality in Islamic thought. It provides a robust framework for understanding the nature of Allah, guiding personal piety, and informing ethical and social conduct. By engaging with the theological and philosophical dimensions of Tawheed, Muslims can deepen their faith and navigate the complexities of contemporary life with a clear and coherent worldview. In conclusion, Tawheed is not just a theological concept, but a comprehensive framework that shapes every aspect of a Muslim's life. From personal conduct to social justice and from theological discourse to philosophical inquiry, the belief in the oneness of Allah provides a foundation for understanding and engaging with the world. The enduring relevance of Tawheed lies in its ability to guide believers towards a life of devotion, righteousness, and justice, reflecting the unity and sovereignty of Allah in every facet of existence. By upholding and living out the principles of Tawheed, Muslims can maintain a strong connection with Allah, foster a just and compassionate society, and navigate the challenges of the modern world with faith and resilience.